Give me a second, guys, while I once again check on my connection, make sure my connection is running fine as we go into this topic. Hey, David. Hello, bro. How are you doing? I'm glad you're here. Hey, David. Let me just make sure everything's working fine. Hold on. I want to make sure it's not lag. Just make sure everything's working fine. Hold on. Okay. All right. So, David, remember when I said people are going to be confounded when the stars fall? Well, I want to show you something that happened when I said that. Take a look at this. Now, I'm going to throw up this thing here. Although his channel is not monetized, I hope he doesn't mind that I use at least 3 minutes of this clip. And yes, I will be linking it in the description. So, David, check this out, David. I think I said that around February or beginning of March, right? So this is what happened at the end of March. I know it was sometime before then because we just came out of March, right? We just came out of March, so it had to have been in February. It was like a month or a couple of weeks before then, right? If I'm not mistaken. Okay, so David, you remember. That's great. So, David, I want you to see something and tell me what you think, because this is very funny, right? It's very, very odd, right? It's very odd. Let's just take a little look at this clip before I get into the main subject here of the day. And I'm only going to play 3 minutes of this, all right? I'm not going to play the whole thing. I just want you guys to see. I called it, right? I called it. And you're going to see more of this happening this year all the way up until next year, as I'm going to show that information as well. Of course, they say space. You're going to find out soon.
Yes, that was amazing. Oh my God.
Well, now back to our top story. Thousands saw it tonight about an hour ago, the massive fireball that lit up the skies all across the Northwest.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production.
Due to the mature nature of this content, language, and death, viewer discretion is advised.
Wait, what's going on?
I don't know.
Are you kidding me?
Is that like a like?
That's more than a comment. Wait, what is that?
Are they not confounded as you see these stars falling from heaven here? And they try and pass it off as a rocket they sent up weeks before. And they said that, oh, the debris was just sitting up there for 3 days and then it just decided to come down, right? Anything to tell you different from what the scriptures say. We're told in the last days, stars, literal stars, are going to fall to the earth. Take a look.
Whoa.
This is what you're seeing,
What the heck is that?
right?
Dude, that's
Look at
like
this.
a comet or something.
You
Oh
say
my
space
gosh.
junk, right?
That's a comet.
It's swimming stars. So many.
Wow.
You say space junk.
Never seen a shooting star in my life. I need you to text me.
And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and famines and pestilences and fearful sights. And great signs shall there be from heaven. I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, and I will show wonders in heaven above, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Keep looking up.
So why is this guy, if this was space junk, David, why is this guy saying, keep looking up? Why does he say keep looking up? Why is he telling people to keep looking up, David? He said, keep looking up. Why is that? If this is just space junk, then why are you saying keep looking up? Let's get that clearly. Right? Let's hear him say it clearly. Right? As they give this phony baloney explanation of what people are seeing with their own two eyes.
Anything hit the ground, and if they did, it was probably up pretty far north of Canada.
Okay, Dr. James Davenport from the University of Washington, thank you so much for explaining. What we saw was actually part of the Falcon 9 rocket, the part that was supposed to burn up. Have a great night, Doctor. Thank you.
Keep looking up.
Keep looking up. Oh, it's just a Falcon 9 rocket that burnt up, but he says keep looking up. Now, find that very, very interesting. He says keep looking up, David. Why? Why are we told to keep looking up? Huh? Why is that, David? Can you tell me why did he say that? Because they know that these are not rockets, David. There's no, he said it was a SpaceX rocket. Well, there's no reports of them launching a rocket. That's why they had to give you the span of 3 days, right? 3 days. All right, now let's get into this topic at hand. All right, so I want to play this video here before I get into this, because I need a little bit of credibility before I get in this. But before I do, let me just let people know, just in case they don't know over there. Okay, so just give me a second. It's going to be an echo. I'm going to have to mute my mic. All right. You know, I got to invite a party. I got to invite a party of people that might want to know this information, right? Because it's very vital. It's very vital. Ties in with scriptures. You care about scriptures, right? I do too. I care about exactly what the scriptures say. Okay. And no, David, I don't care about Elon or his rockets, because I know where his rockets go. They even tell you in that news article. Don't worry, it's going to be linked in the descriptions. All their rockets go into the ocean. Okay, that's where they go, not in outer space. Okay. Now let's get into this with this disclose. Actually, before I even get into this with this disclosure, let's get into this bill here. Okay. This bill was signed in December the 17th. Okay. Now, let's read this article. Right? Let's read this. Let's see what's going on here before I play this video. We're going to see just how this is playing out before I play the video. And the video is from 2010, by the way. So let's look at this here. It says, thanks to Trump era COVID relief bill, a UF report may soon be public. And it'll be big, ex-officials say. And this deals with national security. It says here, last year's gargantuan $2.3 trillion appointed appropriation, bill did a couple of very obvious things. It provided millions of Americans badly needed. I can't say the word, but you guys, you go ahead and read for yourself that word. I can't say it because this is just the nonsense YouTube has going on here. So we have this CV relief bill, right? Relief aid to event an impending government shutdown. It also dealt with UFOs. The legislation, which Donald Trump signed into law as a bureaucratic nesting doll that ran more than 5,500 pages and contained an Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year of 2021. Well, we are in the year of 2021, which itself carried an unusual provision in its committee comment section beneath the understated headline, Advanced Aerial Threats. And then it goes on and on and on to this whole thing about disclosing what they know about the so-called craft here. So it just, yeah. And then I find it very, very funny. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is the gold mine. That time, let's get this paragraph before here. This is what it says here. It also calls for a detailed description of an interagency process that will ensure that data can be gathered to analyze across federal government. The report could document sightings from all over the world, Ratcliffe said. There are instances where we do not have good explanations for some of the things we have seen, he added. When that information becomes declassified, I'll be able to talk a bit about it more than, talks about it more, right? It says that time could be coming soon, right? When Trump approved the spending package on December 17th last year, the 180-day countdown began. So from December the 28th, that's, basically, you might as well say the 28th, right? Starting on the 28th began the 180-day countdown. So you're going to see something. This all ties in. Just hold and bear with me. So it talks about this whole thing, right? All the agencies unleashing this stuff, UFO reports, all the way back to Roswell era. They're going all the way back that far and all that in between. And it just goes on and on and on and tell you how they're documenting all this stuff and how many they saw and how they're going to go about doing all of this and how Donald Trump's Space Force is going to be a part of it all. And that's what he built it for. And blah, blah, blah. Right? Well, go here and you see that in Wikipedia, right? This is what they designed it for. United States Space Force, the USSF, the sixth branch. Find that number very funny. The sixth branch of the United States military, right? And it goes on down here and it talks about Space Force and all this stuff. The whole get down, right? 77 spacecraft are operating in the Space Force, right? And then they give you all these stuff, right? The surveillance and all that stuff, right? Rise of the beast, and they go back to the Cold War era. The U.S. Space Force traces its roots to the beginning of the Cold War, right? 1945. Find that a very interesting year after World War II. Oh, well, what do you know? When they were bringing the Nazis over, right? And it goes on down here to the Falklands War and the Grenada and all this, the bombing of Libya and the Panamanian invasion and Ronald Reagan and the U.S. Congress and then the Space Force. And it gets all these names and all this stuff, right? All this good information. And the mission here, I find the mission is very odd. It's so funny because everybody buys this gigantic lie that's been pushed and perpetrated. So are you not a believer in... I know you like Reagan. David. When are you going to wake up, bro? When are you going to wake up and understand that you've been lied to, the world's being lied to? I don't care about all the nonsense of the world, David. I don't care. I've been there, done that, overcame it, right? I know what's a lie and what's not, David. I've done the research. As you clearly see here, I'm doing it for you, right? And then it says here, listen to on August 10th of 2020, look at this wording here. The Space Force released its capstone doctrine, space power, the doctrine for space forces. Their doctrine. What is this new doctrine here? What is this? Why are they using words about doctrine dealing with Space Force? What is up with that? I just find all this language here odd. Very, very odd. On what subject? Dealing with their disclosure here, David. Okay, well, David, let's amuse you even more. Let's listen to Dr. Carol Rosin. Let's listen to what she has to say on the matter. Yes, and then we could go into the biography of Miss Rosin. And we'll show you why I say these things, David. Let's take a listen here. And as you see, this is educational purposes. It's only a 6-minute long video. Let's take a listen to the whole video.
Good morning. My name is Carol Rosin. In 1974, after being a 6th grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space. And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, no, you have to understand, this is February. And we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat. Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions, to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies. This is a system, he told me, that would never protect anyone. Even back then, he talked about suitcase bombs. He talked about chemical, viral, bacterial, biological warfare, that these space-based weapons would never protect us against. And then he told me that, in fact, if you travel around the world, which I did after he died in 1977, I met with people in over 100 countries who were friends. They didn't want to build space-based weapons. I became a space and missile defense consultant. And I worked with people around the world. I became an advisor to the People's Republic of China. They don't want to build a space-based weapon system. And he told me back then that they didn't. He said, go to Russia. They're considered to be the enemy. I got on a plane by myself. When I got to Russia, I had a list of people that I had read out of the newspaper. Chernenko was in office then. He was the only one I didn't get a chance to meet. They introduced me to everyone when I got there. And when I got back, I said, oh my Lord, this man is telling the truth. Is no threat. And I've been waiting until this day for 27 years, and I'm expecting the spin to happen, because he also explained to me that as a military.
Well, the spin is happening now. I would hope that you guys wake up and understand this was put out September the 11th of 2010 here, as you see the timestamp, right? So this was she was already warning people about the things you see now. How's that? Huh? Because she knew what they were doing. Now, David, you asked me about Wernher von Braun, right? Talk a lot about Wernher von Braun myself. Find it very, very fascinating. Mr. von Braun, Nazi, right? Brought over by the Americans during Operation Paperclip, right? Operation Paperclip, where 1,500 Nazis escaped the punishment they well deserved. And they came on over and they formed NASA. Yes, they did. But how easy do many forget? Let's look into the bio of Mr. von Braun. He died in 1977, I believe. Yeah, after World War II, a little later, right? Here you go, Mr. Wernher von Braun. March 23rd, 1912, all the way up to June 16th, 1977. He was a German-born American aerospace engineer and space architect, right? There you go. Here's your space. He was the leading figure in the development of rocket technology in Nazi Germany. Well, now you know the truth about your government here. Whilst in his 20s and early 30s, Wernher von Braun worked in Nazi's rocket development program. He helped design and co-develop the V2 rocket and the Pendulum or whatever during World War II, right? He was a part of that. Following the war, he was secretly moved to the United States along with, well, I had it wrong. It's about 100 more, 1,600 other German scientists, engineers, technicians as part of Operation Paperclip. Look at this. Here you go. Here's the information, all on Wiki for all to see. Then he worked for the United States Army, Intermediate Range Ballistic Missiles, Explorer 1. And then in the 60s here, in the 60s, his group assimilated into NASA. This is where you get your fake information on space with the serpent's tongue for the logo. But anyway, you guys could keep believing their lies until the aliens come. I find it very fascinating. They worked on Apollo, right? Revelations 9:11. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, who in the Hebrew tongue hath his name Abaddon, but in the Greek hath his name Apollo. Anyway, we also know Saturn, right? Let's just look into these planets, right? I did this before. Here's your Saturn, right? Here's your Saturn here that you believe in, that you believe is real. Here's Saturn. Saturn was a Roman god with a similar history to Kronos from Greek mythology. Oh, but they name your planet Saturn. Well, I find that very interesting. Let's look more. Let's look at Jupiter, shall we? I find that these are all Greek gods here. Zeus is Jupiter, right? the king of the gods in Roman mythology. His brother name was Pluto. So there you have Jupiter and Pluto in your skies, right? There you go. Let's look at what Deuteronomy 4 says, David. Are you familiar with Deuteronomy 4? I love you, David. I want you to come out of the deception. Because if you are a real Jew, then you should believe what Deuteronomy 4 says here. Because it speaks to you, right? Speaks to you. It says, hearken, Israel, right? This is talking to you, right, David? Let's see what it says here. Because I find it very fascinating that even the Israelis believe there is an outer space and all. Right? Let's just see about this. What does God say in his words? Says here, and the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye may do them in the land whither thou go over to possess it. Take heed, therefore, good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Most High, the Father, spoke to you in Horeb, out of the midst of the fire. And it says here about, lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure and likeness, or male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, or the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, right? Or the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth, right? And then this one is very key. This one seems to not exist anymore with this fascination of space. Lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven. Who are these hosts of heaven here, David? Can you get us the Hebrew word for a host of heaven, please, so we can see what that means? Should be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Most High, the God of, the Most High, divided unto all nations under the whole heaven, right? He divided these hosts here under all the nations, under the whole heaven, right? Let's look at let's look up who Uranus is, right? Find that one very, very funny. He is Hesiod or whatever, right? This is these guys. He was a titan, the Cyclopses, right? What god is Uranus, right? And it says gay. The titans, the mighty ones, right? The false gods, the ones that are going to return to the earth as aliens. This is why it's so important. Now, let's look at this here. Let's get into this whole debacle, right? Early life and education with Mr. von Braun, right? So he was a Nazi. And yeah, you can go and do the research here, go into all this, right? Studied physics, chemistry, and astronomy, career in Germany, right? So you go into all this. I'm not going to go into all this, right? So we understand that, he was under the Nazi regime. So if the Americans were enemies to the Nazis, why did they bring them scientists over here and start NASA, right? Look at all this information. As you see, it's a long read. This is why I'm not going to read it all, right? That's why I'm not going to read it all, right? And here you go. Where is it? In 1952, von Braun first published his concepts of a crewed space station in a Courier's Week magazine series of articles. Man will conquer space soon. Sure sounds like what it says about Babylon, right? Right? About this Babylon here. Let's see what it says here in Jeremiah 51 to 64. Because it just sounds very, very odd that you tie everything written in scriptures that's talking about future Babylon, and it seems like they're doing such things if we take God's words for true. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, did ancient Babylon have any way they can mount up to heaven? No, they didn't. So we know Jeremiah here is talking about a future prophecy. And though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me, from the Most High, right? He's saying this, shall spoilers come unto her, saith the Most High, right? And then it goes down and says here, a sound of a cry cometh from Babylon, a great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans, right? Because the Most High hath spoiled Babylon and destroyed out of her the great voice. When her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of her voice is uttered. Because the spoilers come upon her, even upon Babylon, and her mighty men are taken. Every one of their bowls is broken. For the Most High of recompenses shall surely requite, right? And then we get all this, right? And I will make drunk her princes and her wise men and her captains, her rulers, her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep and shall not awake, say the King, whose name is the Most High, the Lord of hosts, right? The Most High, right? The Father. And it says all this stuff about there, right? So what Babylon is this talking about? Because when you read this whole chapter in Jeremiah, right, look at this. You read this whole Jeremiah thing and you go over here into Revelation, right? Revelation 18 talks about the same event as it's going to be fulfilled in our time, right? Revelation 18. Let's look at Revelation 18, right? And then we'll get back on topic. Okay. I'm just showing you something, David. I know Con Braun. Okay. I know the guy because the communists came, new enemy. Yes, David. And look, I find this very funny. Okay. Where am I going with this, David? I want to know because, again, I'm just showing you something that I know more than what you think I know here, David. So, if you're preparing food, that's great. So anyway, let's get back on topic. So it talks about this whole Babylon here, right? Why does it say in Revelation that Babylon the Great is fallen, is become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird, right? Is this ancient Babylon? Was Revelation fulfilled back then? I don't think so. Because this is talking about future time here in Revelation, right? Therefore, her plague shall come in one day. We didn't see Babylon plagued in one day, right? We also didn't see, this thing here happen, right? All this stuff. And they calls it the great city, right? And then it talks about all this here. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I kind of want to stay on topic here. But just show you there. Go read that for yourself. Go read Jeremiah 51 for yourselves. You go look at Wernher von Braun for yourselves. And then I was looking at this whole thing. And they're talking about meteor shower calendar for 2021 and 2022. And these are just nothing but stars falling, guys. These are stars, okay? That's all it is. And it gives you the times and dates and the velocity, 30 miles a second, right? 30 miles a second. Let me see. Let me just do some math here. 30 miles a second. Find that very, very strange. Let's do some math here. 30 miles a second times. I want to see how many miles they're going to be, how fast they're going to be falling by miles. So miles per hour, right? This is miles per second. I want to get the miles per hour. So 30 times 60 seconds in a minute times 60 minutes in an hour. And we get the grand total of 108. Right? 108. So 108,000 miles per second or per hour. 108,000 miles per hour, they say. When you multiply that to get the miles per hour out of the seconds. 42 miles per second. Right? The phenomenal numbers here they got going off for these. Right? And then they got this looking like the picture of a moon here. The moon. Right? All these are just pictures of the moon. You can clearly see that's the moon. Okay? They're just showing you the same picture over and over and calling them different stars. Oh, they got the moon eclipsed. Wow, look at that. And that's a star, right? Give me a break. Look at this. You could clearly tell that's the moon, but they're going to show you the same picture over and over. You guys just ain't going to get past the deception. This is the same picture, just shading eclipses, right? Again. Look at this. How do you get this on the ball? How do you get this on the ball? Shouldn't another ball that's going over a ball be going around the ball in the shape of a ball, not cut in half like that? But this is the picture they provide us with, right? Of the moon again. Again, another, you get the picture here. They're going to keep lying to you because you're going to keep buying it, right? All these events. Oh, look, now it's a dark moon. They give you the new moon and they call it a star. Oh, boy, this is grand, man. This is fascinating to me. Look at that. Everybody skedaddles when the truth is told. That's fascinating. That's just amazes me. Well, let's keep the show going, man. So they have this thing called Project Bluebeam. And this is the whole thing that I got here for this whole reason, as I mentioned. And I guess since everybody just skedaddled, I'll just, finish this out with this information here and play a video for you guys that will probably view this and have an open mind. But again, I don't expect anybody to be open-minded to the truth when they're hanging and clinging on to lies. So the Project Bluebeam, this is what you guys got to face, whether you accept it or not. It's not going away. Don't run from the truth. This is March 31st. This was just a couple of days ago, right? March 31st, 2021. And it says here, cloud-based platforms help boost project efficiencies. Get this off my screen. So then they go into this thing and they say data security and all this stuff. And they give you all these logos here of all the stuff that's going to be connected. So let's see what this says here. So they're talking about all these sectors and this stuff going on with Bluebeam, right? Project Bluebeam, how they're using the CV to bring this about, right? Power of connections. Ignites integration with Bluebeam, the developer of solution service for architect, engineering, and construction personnels worldwide, allows for customs to securely communicate and mark up documents and drawings in real time from anywhere in the world. By leveraging the power of connecting systems and operating open standards, teams can stay on the same page and keep projects moving forward, says Andrew Gare, Bluebeam Director of Technical Account Management. Integrations like those, the ones should share between Bluebeam, Revu, and Ignite, are more than just simple connections. They allow for the systems to complement each other, drive efficiencies, reduce risk, and improve outcomes, no matter where you work, on what project you're phased in. So then it gets into talking about all this. Well, that's where they just leave it off. But let's go into this. Let's look at what this is. Construction for pros. They're using it for construction, they say. But I find it also very fascinating here. Find it also very fascinating here, right? They're using this for construction. They're unleashing the Bluebeam software now. Let's go in here. Project Bluebeam. This is what I want. This is what I want. Okay? They're trying to bury this here, but it's not going to work. So this was in the news. It said Project Blue Book, U.S. Air Force UFO documents revealed, right? This was back in January 26th of 2015, okay? And they show you this from this, this picture of this alien here from When Mars Attacks, right? That movie from back then. So this is what it says here. Project Blue Book had a sizable mission. The origins of the ambitious project can be traced to the June 1947 UFO researcher Alejandro Rojas tells BBC. Editor of Open Minds magazine says, as well, a well-respected businessman and pilot, Kenneth Arnold, was flying over Washington State when he witnessed several unidentified flying objects. You know, and then he goes into this whole thing about Roswell, but I want to get into here. Let's talk about Blue Book. Project Blue Book was created in time of public unease, right? So what are we facing here? Are we not facing public unease, dealing with our current so-called situation? But again, so they talk about after World War II, Project Blue Book was intended to stop the spread of public unease about a growing number of reported UFO sightings, including over such landmarks as the White House and the U.S. Capitol. And they talk about the hysteria that was going on, sightings, and they talk about all this stuff, right? And they show all these people. But I want to show where they're talking about there is still information to be uncovered about UFO activity, and it's talking about this Blue Book, but I want to go into Project Bluebeam, right? Again, all this stuff was already known. Okay, so they took all that other stuff off, right? About how they're going to use it. Well, let's look at the images. Project Bluebeam. Let's just put Project Bluebeam and go back And let's look at images here. And you see, this is what Project Bluebeam was about. This is the information that they scrubbed off the internet, dealing with this information that these people were putting out because they're trying to fake the return of the Messiah here. And they're going to bring aliens into the equation, right? Just as you see here in these pictures where they have these images showing like Christ on the cross and some clouds here with their technology again. And then they got these so-called satellites up there and all this stuff, right? Just like this video where they showing how the technology makes it look real, like this whale is actually in this auditorium splashing in some water. But again, just like they got this stuff here, right? I don't believe anything these guys say. Yeah, they could fake aliens, right? They could, do that in their own due time when they're going to do it and pull off the fake invasion, right? We know it's going to be fake. We know aliens are fallen angels. So nothing's going to fool me unless you guys are going to buy the lie. Look at this. Here's pictures from when they used it, right? And how they're trying to fake his return. And these are video shots here, right? Look at this. How blasphemous. You got him walking over a city here, right? This is blasphemy here. Straight blasphemous. Look at a few more pictures. Oops. Oh, wait. Let's go into this. On Project Bluebeam. Will a false alien invasion arrive in 2018? No, it's coming now. So I find this very fascinating, right? Very fascinating. Many people knew about this already, okay? But when this information is brought out, is this real to you? I mean, you believe everything else, right? Look at this, right? Blasphemous, right? And then they put these riders on a horse up there, right? Get out of here. Look at this. Look at this. It's all garbage, right? But this one right here really takes the cake with me. All the way to the right takes the cake, right? Clearly showing you how they're going to fake the return, right? But again, many people don't want to see the truth, right? Sad. But hey, I guess I'll end this live early so many could go and reflect on what I'm saying here. And maybe you'll go and look into the information before it's too late. Stop being a ostrich with your head in the sand like it's going to be fine when they're working toward this goal. It's just sad. Everybody could sit around for a bunch of nonsense, right? But can't sit around and listen to some truth that might save you in the end, right? But okay, of course, right? This is why it says in the scriptures, many are called, but few are chosen, right? People are going to understand those scriptures a little bit better. With that said, I'm going to bring this live down. David, you still want to come on and have a chat, bro? I'll set it up for tomorrow. I'll know, it's like 3 hours ahead, so it's 6 your time. I probably might set it up for like 12. That'd be 1 your time afternoon. For everybody else, shalom. Hope you wake up soon.